October Red is sponsored by SA Security. Maximum security, minimum fuss.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. It's Abs of October Red, and guess what? It's news and reviews again. Getting on top of this stuff, keeping you guys informed on what's going on. Boxing, as you know, is ever changing and has some silent points, but also gets busy. We've had some recent news, and it's going to be the main topic of today's discussion, which is the ring card for the rematch of Chris Eubank Jr and Conor Benn. We had the full card announced yesterday. And yeah, it's interesting to say the least. But yeah, we'll pop onto that in a bit. But what I want to do is say a massive thank you to all of the new subscribers that have joined the channel. I appreciate each and every one of you. Whether you're old or new, welcome. I'm going to go through some of the comments that were on the last review that I did a couple of days ago. And Conquest 2915, great information. Enjoy your presentation on very relevant boxing news. Thank you very much. That's what I aim to do. I am a bit UK biased, and I apologise for that to my US audience. I am going to try and get on top of your side of boxing soon. I'm just so intrinsically embroiled in UK boxing. I kind of blindside other places, which isn't very fair of me, and I do try and be fair. Glassy 1979, thanks for the update, Abs. Another great video. Thank you very much to you as well. James Douglas, hi October, thanks again for the updates. I really look forward to them. The legal battle is a bit confusing, but nothing is signed, so we will see how that goes. I wonder how other broadcasters will view Benn during this process. It's a mess, and I hope it ends well for both. I think boxers need to concentrate on putting on fights. Matchroom and Rock Nation, great strategic move. And I think especially for the US market, Matchroom is global, so this makes sense to me. Yeah, good comment there, James. Good comment for sure. 68 DG's giving me my $9.99 for my coffee and a patty, he says. Thank you very much for that. The coffee fund is building nicely. I do like my coffee actually. A latte with oat milk, or I usually have it black. Emma Willis 7823. Nice to see Rock Nation back in the sport. They are a powerful force in America, which will greatly help Matchroom with their fighters' profiles. Yeah, definitely I couldn't agree more. I think it's a great move. Sully Serrano 29, even on Twitter X, I see lots of people talking good of this John Wish guy. And X can be a toxic, horrible place. So I know there's truth to his character. I've heard nothing but good of him. Sully, it's right, I've met him several times. He's a gem of a man. Very polite, very quiet. Keeps himself to himself, not one for the spotlight, is how I describe John. But he's been in boxing for several years. When Eddie Hearn was with Matchroom, like I said, I've had this conversation with Eddie Hearn. It was Eddie Hearn. He used to do the matchmaking, but then they had John Wish there as well. So he's a key figure in boxing, but somebody that you won't see all over the videos because he just keeps himself to himself. We'll see how that plays out anyway. But thank you for your comment. FIHRR, bad guy. Good to see you. If it's not signed, waste of cash. Part of Shalom's learning curve. Is it Quitisha Sua? I do apologise if I got the username wrong. Rock Nation will make them worldwide for sure. Great big move. And like I said, I agree with that. I think it's great. James Harrison asked me a really good question. James Harrison 426, thanks for this. Are you going to cover the bare knuckle fighting champion card in Manchester in UK on Saturday? Asking because James DeGale is making his debut. I'm interested in seeing if he can transition from boxing into bare knuckle style. James, I would have loved to have gone. I emailed their PR and said, hey, How do I get onto your mailing list? And I didn't hear nothing back. Whether they're inundated, it went to their spam folders, who knows? But I have tried to get on their mailing list because I definitely would have gone to that. And if I didn't go to the actual fight night, I would have gone to the media day just to get a feel around it, because albeit they say it's boxing, you've mentioned there, it has a different style. So I would have really enjoyed that opportunity, but unfortunately, that hasn't happened so far. But you've reminded me, so I'll chase them up. If you said the Matchroom and Rock Nation move should benefit Boots and certain fighters, the likelihood of Meek Mill walking out Boots for a fight just increased by 50%. Zhang was signed to them. It didn't seem beneficial, but maybe if they focus on content marketing and ring walks, it's a good move. Yeah, I didn't realise that Zhilei Zhang was signed with them until I'd done a bit of digging around it as well. But it probably wasn't the right time. I think boxing's a weird one, isn't it? It's all about timing. It's got to be done at the right time. And it's all well and good taking risks. They do have a sports department. Eddie's good at being innovative, and I just believe now is the right time. The storytelling, I think, is a fabulous idea. I'm all up for storytelling because I do like to sit down and learn about people. The more you learn about them, the more you understand why they do what they do and how they do what they do, and you can almost essentially predict to an extent their future based on who they are. So I think it's great. Storytelling is really great. Fight Fan jumped in. MLB is Major League Baseball, and I'm thankful that you joined in because I have no clue. Like I said, I do apologize to my American cousins. I'm not too au fait with the sports. See, yeah, I'm gonna get my head around it. I promise that I will do. And yes, you're right about the NFL, NBA, NHL, and MLB sports in America being more popular and prioritized over boxing for sure. And that's mad. Man deleted emails in a panic, but at 65 he'll be okay, as retirement age is 66, so surely he's got enough in his pension kitties. He might not though. You know, I don't know about you guys, but what are you like with budgeting your money? When you expect to be working to a certain age and you kind of live, not beyond your means, but up to your means. That's why a lot of people are working a lot longer now. It's not necessarily because they want to, it's because they have to. People taking on secondary jobs. Long gone are the days where you just retired and that's the end of that. You just put your feet up. Doesn't seem to work like that. You've got people going out to work that shouldn't be working, that are clearly sick. You know, it's different out there. So I'm not one for looking at people's kitties, meaning their pension pot. Pause. God, that could have gone wrong. So yeah, if he wants to earn money and he wants to work till he's 80 odd, then that's entirely up to him. But yeah. Alex Pilati 5964 says, I stand with John Wishhausen, aka Jay Whistle. We do get the banter in the comments. There was another one, but I can't see it. Emma Willis has jumped back in. Seems he did do something nefarious, but ultimately it was Boxer who undermined Boxer. The leading factor being dropped was Boxer underperforming. And this is what I said earlier on in the video. It's about accountability. You can't just turn around and say that it was John Wishhausen that jeopardized, and this is all alleged, by the way, a potential renewal with Sky. You know, there was plenty of other people that would have put the boot in, and quite rightly so. You're given a lot of money. What have you done with that money? Have you spent it wisely? Is it worth the investment? How much have you lost? How much have you made? You know, the balance sheet, and all of these things have to be taken into account. So blaming potentially one person, I don't think is the right way to do it. But we'll see. Hopefully, maybe one day I'll get to speak to Ben about it. Who knows? Because he's under BBC now, and they're possibly going to be even more rigid and corporate than Sky. That's another thing that I wanted to bring up as well. Because of that, will BBC be holding press conferences where media can go to. When I'm talking about media, I'm not talking about the Daily Mail, Daily Sport, BBC, their in-house, TalkSport, you know, all the corporate media companies, because they'll be there. Of course they'll be there, because they've got the biggest reach, the biggest audience. You know, probably your IFLs will be there as well, the top YouTubers. But for smaller channels like myself, it's interesting, because I'm going to see if they going to have a media cutoff point, or they're going to let everybody in so they can get as much coverage as possible. Now, I can't work out if I'm being biased towards the smaller media channels like myself, or because they've decided to put their card, which is Fraser Clark versus Jamie Takivi for the heavyweight title belt, on the same day as Joseph Parker versus Fabio Wardley for the interim world championship belt. I think it's a WBO. Please correct me, it might be the WBA. I think it's WBO. I digress. It's on the same day. So you're going to have media outlets, key media outlets, one potentially in Derby, one potentially in London at the O2. How's that going to work? So are they going to tighten up on media, keep it in-house because they're happy with the amount of viewers that they've got on BBC Two, because that's where it's been aired, BBC Two and iPlayer? Are they happy with that reach? Or they're really going to try and tap into the boxing public and invite all of the media? It's a tricky one. I think they should invite all the media, but like I said, am I being biased? Am I being selfish? No. They're in competition. They're directly going up against, however you look at it, whatever the time schedules are for the main event, it's on the same day in the UK. So they're going up against Frank Warren, Queensberry. So they're going to need as much media coverage as possible to make it look like that is the fight you want to watch. Yes, you can argue that Joseph Parker and Fabio Wardley are pay-per-view events. There's that argument. And people are going to think, you know what, I'll watch it on free. I'll watch it for free, apologies, on BBC Two. I prefer to do that. So, I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. But I just had a little thought to myself. I thought, you know what? BBC's probably more corporate and rigid than Sky Sports, boxing. I miss them. I do miss them, by the way. So I probably wouldn't get invited to that event anyway, even if I wanted to go. I was there for Boxer's first event with Sky Sports. I was there. I think it was the 2nd of October, Saturday the 2nd of October 2021. Get your calendars out, I might be wrong. But I remember it so well because it was my birthday weekend. And it was the first ever boxing show I got accredited to. And I was very, very happy and pleased that I was able to be in that environment. And it's that where I kind of started to make a name for myself, a name for the brand. So I have got nostalgia and a little bit of emotion tied with Boxer, because I was there from the beginning. Tricky one, that, but like I said, we'll see how it goes. But I've enjoyed the journey that I've had, obviously with Queensberry and with Matchroom, you know. So yeah, a bit of a tricky one, but we'll see. So if he goes on to, oh no, I've got to cover this one. 68 DG said, and this is important, he talks about the emails and the non-contract signing. He said implied consent. The fact that John Wish acted and was paid for work linked to Boxer shows performance of contract. Ben is going to cash in. If you do work linked to a contract, you don't need to sign the contract with anyone. Ben has a very strong case. Now, this is me saying if it isn't signed, you know, there's no contract. I should have done this already, but I haven't. But I'm going to now look into contractual business law And if you haven't signed a contract, etc., etc., these guys would have done this already. Hence the reason why the judge has given the ruling for the interim. The judge is satisfied that there's enough evidence at this time, at this stage of the case, to say that, yeah, I think you should have that injunction served, because what you've done has undermined the company and potentially caused them irreparable damage, etc., etc. All the stuff that I read out the other day. But I am going to have a look into it, because I was under the impression if a contract is not signed, then it's not really valid. Now, it seems as if there may have been more than one contract written up. When I say several, I mean more than one. It'd be good to see if John Wishausen has got the evidence to say that he was contracted to potentially Sky, but Boxer would be the one that would be he'd be invoicing Boxer for his services. Or was this from the very beginning, like I said, from the very first show that I went to, was this just word of mouth? Not word of mouth. A promise, a handshake. Yeah, you'll do this, blah, blah, blah. There's a contract. Yeah, I'll sign it in a bit. Was it like that from the beginning? You have to tighten up on agreements, because a work contract is a legally binding document. So I understand, like you said, implied consent, and I'm going to research it. But I still think, even though Ben has a case, I do think that John has a case as well. How many contracts were there? How many did he actually not sign? Did he not sign any of them? His writing's not anywhere? Because from the court information, it seems like there was more than one contract. He was asked to sign one in 2024. I mean, the business has been operating since when they went to Sky 2021. So why would he be asked to sign a contract in 2024? Was that a renewal? Was that him converting from working for Sky Sports to Boxer? There's so many unanswered questions, and I can't really make a true informed opinion, because that's all this is. This is my opinion on allegations that have been made, on what the full detail of the case is, but we'll see. We shall see. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have a look at the card. I sent an email by Matchroom yesterday to announce the undercard of Eubank Ben. So let's have a look at it then. And I'm going to tell you now, because you know what I'm like. I've got my favourite fight on this card, and you can scream as much as you want in the comments. But my favourite fight on this card is Jack Catterall versus Ekow Essuman. El Gato versus the Engine. Now, I know what you're going to say. Oh, Catterall this, Catterall. I don't care. I like this fight. I am tipping Ekow to be the favourite. I'm going to tip him to be the favourite, based on Catterall's last few performances and Ekow's last few performances. However, I do like the fight. Catterall, when he's at his best, he's gone to an American trainer now. Who is it? Is it Boots? Is it Boots Ennis' dad? I know he's gone to an American trainer, which, I mean, he's got a family, etc. So I don't know how that dynamic's going to work. But whatever, he's taking his career to the next level. He believes that he'll get that skill from an American trainer. Whatever, that's down to him. That is totally down to him. And I look forward to speaking to him about it. He's one fighter that I will be going out my way to speak to, should I be invited to the press conference for this undercard. I'm looking forward to speaking to him. So, Catterall's got that back foot style. Always seems relaxed. A part of it is like he doesn't seem to up the gears, get aggressive. But then you've got Ekow Essuman that comes forward, doesn't stop. He's relentless. Knock him down. He's getting back up. He's coming for you. And I do think it's like Ekow, I'd say, is a pressure fighter. And Catterall, when he's at his best, and this is me looking at Catterall at his best, he's quite slick with his movements, and I would say he's more of a back foot fighter, but that's just my opinion. I like it very, very much. I do like that fight. So I know that's not the first fight that's been outlined on the card, but that's the one that I'm thinking, yeah, go on then. It's the centre of the card, so I'll take that. So we've got Adam Azim. So congratulations, Adam Azim has renewed his contract with Boxer. It's a good point, actually. So they don't have that political drive where it's like, because this is not going to be aired on the BBC. See, I'm digressing again now. I'm just looking at the flyer, the poster, sorry, I should say. Let's get modern with it. The electronic poster that I'm staring at on Instagram. And we've got Ring, Boxer, Riyadh Season, Matchroom Seller. Then you've got DAZN, Watch only on DAZN, Queensbury, and Gold Star, also rubber stamped on the bottom of the flyer. And obviously the date and the venue. So these contracts with Boxer and BBC it starts on what, the 25th of October, yeah? This fight's on the 15th of November. So it seems as if they're in a good enough relationship with BBC to say, look, our fighters will be fighting on other platforms that may be signed into the contract. We've only got a certain amount of fights, a certain amount of broadcast dates with yourself. And these are these opportunities. So it seems as if Boxer will be working with other broadcasters and when I say Boxer, I mean their fighters. Because obviously he's not the only Boxer fighter on the card. So Adam Azim is fighting Zaur Abdullaev. Apologies if I've got the pronunciation wrong. Now, Abdullaev, guys, you know what I'm like. I haven't had a look at him yet, but I will. But Adam Azim is an extremely talented fighter. I would be absolutely full of envy if I said anything else, because there's absolutely no reason to diminish his skills. He's a good fighter, good boxer, good timing, looks for his shots, confident in his approach, sits well, he's got good feet, good balance on his feet. I could go on. He's trained by Shane McGuigan, who's had him from, I'm sure he's had him from the beginning, I'm sure he has. And also did train his brother Hassan when he was boxing as well. So he's classed as a hot prospect. I will run with it. I'll run with that narrative. Like I said, he's fast, he's explosive, and apparently he's ranked in the top 10 with multiple sanctioning bodies. So they're working him. They've been very strategic with him. You know, I talk about the leaderboard and how we play the chess and get your fighters into really good positions. He's doing well because he's in the top 10. So I've just done a little bit of research on Abdullaev, and he's classed as seasoned, durable operator. He's fought Devin Haney and Jorge Linares, so he's got experience at the very top. So would you say this is a step up for Adam Azim? Yeah, 100%. But it's a good fight. On paper, this is an extremely good fight. I haven't watched Abdullaev's style, so I can't tell you about his style. Obviously, he's been around for a bit. So I'm interested to see how it goes. Let me have a look at the records, actually. Let me have a quick look what the records are. Abdullaev is 20-2 with no draws. He's had 12 KOs. He's not ranked, but like I said, he's had a couple of good names on his record. Adam Azim currently at 13-0, and he's had 10 KOs, and he's ranked at number 8 with the WBC and number 10 with the IBF. So he's not doing too bad, is he? Fair play to him. And talking about the previous fighters, Jack Catterall is 32-2, 13 knockouts. And Ekow Essuman is 22-1. with 8 knockouts. Interesting. So it's a good matchup. So it's a good matchup. I do like that fight. No, I've gone back to that fight again. But yeah, interesting. Very interesting. So good for Adam Azim. I do think it's a step up. I'm glad that he's active. I do get worried when fighters aren't active. So I know this is in November, so it's not quite round the corner as yet. But I know he'll be training hard in his gym and getting some experience sparring in to help him cope with, on paper, what seems to be somebody that's quite durable. Sam Gilley versus Ishmael Davis. Now, Sam Gilley is a technical fighter. He's tough as well. He can make the fights exciting. You do get oohs and ahs when he's fighting, and that's because he's prepared to take a risk. He's prepared to take heavy shots so he can get off his own. And I think this might be local for him, so he'll probably get a lot of support. Ishmael Davis, who obviously we saw the other day, we did the watch along for it, didn't we? Went up against Kievan Ajaku. Good fight that. I really loved that fight. So Davis is another fighter that can be in exciting fights as well. I'd say that he's had a little bit of bad luck because I think he's talented, and I think with the right bedding into the right coaching system, I'm not going to say change coaches, but the coaching system that helps him work on his feet. Yeah, really concentrate on that balance and not just looking for the KOs, and you know, really maintaining that muscle mass with an engine. I think he's dangerous, really dangerous. I think I might go for him to win in this one, you know. I might go for Ish to win this one. So yeah, we'll see. And so it's an opportunity, isn't it? It's an opportunity for him to bounce back. Both, I'm sure, lovely gentlemen. This is just me giving my opinion. He could be the show stealer, but I think Catterall and Essuman's gonna. You know, I'm thinking of Emma Willis is gonna absolutely tear me to bits about Jack Catterall and the Ekow Essuman fight. I've just got a feeling. I can feel the comments coming in now. But shout out to Emma Willis, very, very knowledgeable young lady that likes her boxing as well. So yeah. Right, Mikie Tallon and Fezan Shahid. Now, look, I don't know much about any of them, so I'm going to leave you guys in the comments to debate those. But I think, correct me if I'm wrong, has Tallon been on a Riyadh season card before? Is he Liverpoolian? So we'll see what happens with him. I think he's a young kid. He's got curly hair. I'm just trying to think of his face. Is he quite... let's have a look at the flyer again. Yeah, he has got curly hair. I'm sure he's been on a Riyadh season card before. So yeah, should be good for him, you know, getting eyes on the young fighters. I don't know anything about his opponent. I barely know anything about him, but that's another fight that's on there. And last but no means least, we've got Richard Riakporhe versus Tommy Welch. Now, I had it in my big head self, and I say that because I've got a lovely T-fell forehead that my kids often refer to me as Mega Mind, that Richard Riakporhe was going to be fighting Joe Joyce. I knew Tommy Welch was a name that was mentioned. I don't know if I mentioned it in my other review, but okay, I was thinking Joe Joyce, and I'm going to go on to Joe Joyce after this, actually, with an article that my favourite writer wrote for the Ring magazine. Richard Riakporhe obviously started off as a cruiserweight, getting people out of there, having some opponents. You know, he had a couple of like warm-ups, and then he went on to, I think, an opponent that Lawrence Okoli beat, got him out there in good fashion, etc, etc. Then we had a bit of drama about Joe Pataya pulling out of fights. All of that saga happened. Then he had like a comeback fight, which was against an easy opponent. Then he disappeared. No, he didn't. Then he fought Chris Billam-Smith, who he beat as a pro a few years earlier, but this time it's for a world title at cruiserweight. Richard Riakporhe lost. Billam-Smith outworked him. It was a points decision for Billam-Smith, but a competent, unanimous decision. But, you know, there was no doubt about it who won the fight. So then he disappears. You know, we hear all weird and wonderful stuff. I heard that he got injured in the fight, and that was from a credible source. I don't know if they fed me that information because they know that I'll talk about it. We talk about how media can be fed information to spin narratives. I'm not trying to spin anything, I'm just saying what I heard. And I'll try and be as honest as I can with you guys. Just like you are with me in the comments. It works both ways. So then he disappeared, left his coach, who was Angel Fernandez, who's the coach of Fraser Clark, was the coach of Ezra Taylor, was the coach of Anthony Joshua. So he left him behind. And he went to Billy Nelson, former fighter. Obviously, he's got a nice little stable of fighters there. Martin Bacoli, Crocker, Cyrus Pattinson. And if I've missed anybody else out, please accept my apology. And obviously, Richard Riakporhe. He went up to heavyweight, had his debut on an American Riyadh card. And did well. I think it was Bracamonte who stopped him. Was it Bracamonte? Stopped him. He was one of the guys that always fights like our UK heavyweight newbies. So going up, yeah, okay, have him as a first fight. You know, that's fine. Everyone knows who Bracamonte is on the circuit. I'm sure it was Bracamonte. And yeah, did a job on him. I can't remember when that card was. I could check on BoxRec actually. But then he disappears again. Then he's supposed to fight Lawrence Okolie, which to me was just absolutely amazing. The best fight to make. The history with the two fighters. The press conference that happened. Everything was going swimmingly well. I'm telling you guys, I literally would have walked through hot coals to get to that press conference. I was so happy. I was like, yes, I've been around from the beginning. I get these two guys. I understand like their sort of the animosity that they've got towards each other. Even when I was there and I was interviewing Richard, you know, Lawrence walked past and made a sarcastic comment and I laughed and I said to Richard, oh, look at, you know, what Lawrence is saying, this is all on film. And then Richard's going, oh, he's just jealous, blah, 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 very dismissive of him. You know, then at the top table, we had Lawrence Okolie mentioning Madonna and really winding Richard up. You know, they had that fight at the cinema, at the preview of Assassin's Creed. You know, there's just so much history. And to me, it was just the best fight to make. Then, boom, Lawrence Okolie comes out with injury. And I'm absolutely devastated. I shouldn't really care this much about, you know, fighters going at it. But literally, my heart sank. So anyway, he went on to fight in America. And then I'm hearing, okay, Joe Joyce. Okay, yep, I can cope with that. It's a really good name. Really solid test. Really solid test at heavyweight. No, it's Tommy Welch. So let's go. Right. This is why records, when you look at records, don't get me wrong, they're experienced, aren't they? They're down on paper of how much experience you've had as a fighter. Look at them as experience. So when you look at the figures, Richard's 18-1. 14 of those are knockouts. He's always had a good knockout ratio. He's extremely powerful, as we know. Tommy Welch, 16-0. So when you look at their records, yeah, that's not a bad matchup. And 9 of those have been knockouts. When you look at levels of opponents, when you think about who they've fought, names that you could reel off the top of your head, nothing's really sticking out. You know? Look, what? This fight, to me, is better for Tommy Welch to have a win over Richard Riakporhe than Richard Riakporhe to have a win over Tommy Welch. Does that make sense? So, is it just a keep busy fight? You've gone up to heavyweight, and I don't know. I'm just not, and I will speak about it, and I'll speak about it with both fighters. I've spoke to Tommy Welch before. He's a really nice kid. Obviously, I spoke to Richard on several occasions. I just want to know what the purpose of this fight is. Look, we've mentioned Sam Gilley. We've mentioned Ishmael Davis. Right? Two solid fighters, two names that you know that are going to go at it. And it's going to be exciting while it lasts. Yeah? I can't see it going to points, but whatever. I've been wrong in the past. Azim is going up against somebody that has been in the ring with Devin Haney, I said Giorgio Linares. So his opponent has been up against, you know, names that you can say, all right then, fair enough. I might not know who he is, but those names are really credible. Ekow, Essuman and Jack Catterall, for me, chef's kiss. Look, go at me all you want. And you know what? You can come back and sting me if the fight wasn't as good as you thought it was going to be. I'm happy about the fight. I like that fight. They're both names that we know. They've both been in with some tough opponents as well. I've watched Ekow Essuman fight several times as Jack Catterall, and I've watched them fight live. But then you get Richard and Tommy, and it's just not giving me that buzz that the rest of the fights are giving me. Listen, am I just being ungrateful? Is this, you know, I like the card, and I'm not slating the card one bit. I just thought Richard would want to probably fight somebody that's going to really test him. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way to Tommy Welch. But I just think Richard, with how long he's been on the scene, the names that he's been in the mix with, I just would have liked to have had a tougher test. Now, listen, guys, you can go at me in the comments if you want. If that's how you feel about it. I'm all up for criticism. But we'll see how it goes. So that was my kind of 50 pence worth. But then, I can't even get this up. Let me see if I can find it. There's an article written by Mo for the Ring magazine. And it's on my phone, and I'm recording on my phone, so I can't get it up, and I haven't got WhatsApp on my computer. But basically, when he spoke to Frank Warren, I had just a quick look at it. Frank Warren, and this is a man that's making a money off a fighter, has implied that maybe he should just hang the gloves up now. Maybe he should just sit down and hang the gloves up. I know he's mentioned it recently, I think in a Box Nation interview with Umar. But yeah. So maybe they didn't like the idea of Joel Joyce with Riakporhe when you talk about somebody that's explosive, powerful, etc, etc. I don't know the backstory to it, but maybe it was that why the fight didn't happen. A lot of people have been calling for Joel Joyce to retire. I'm not one of them. He'll do it when he's ready, just like Chisora. They'll do it when they're ready. You know, I'm not here for health and safety regulations, and I'm not going to tell a fighter what to do, because I don't fight, and that's just my stance on it. Everyone else can have an opinion, of course they can. I may have said before, don't know, should Joel carry on? I don't know. But when you listen to them speak and you listen to their passion and you're thinking, how can I tell them to stop? They should have responsible team members around them that will give them that professional safety advice. I just sit here or I go to the events and report on them. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it's Friday. Happy Friday to all of you lot. Have a really good weekend. I'd like to shout out my sponsors, SA UK, Maximum Security, Minimum Fuss. Keep your notifications on, and like I said, welcome to all of the new subscribers. I really appreciate you all. Thank you for the donations and the hyping of the video, all of that stuff. I really do appreciate it. And as we say at October Red, stay ready.
October Red is sponsored by SA Security. Maximum security, minimum fuss.